Hello and welcome back into another episode. Back into? Welcome back for another episode of Craven Some Raven. I don't know how you can be inside of an episode. Seems kind of weird to me. But welcome back. This is going to be my review of the Week 1 game versus the Miami Dolphins. The very close game. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but man, that was a white knuckler. I'll tell you that much. That was a damn close game. No, in all honesty, this was a thumping, a thrashing, just an overall raping of a Dolphins blowhole. Not cool. I don't really think we even ran up the score on them. We just outclassed them, demoralized them, and dominated it to the point, or really just to historic levels, to a point where it's never been done before. So I'm going to break down this game, go over some stats, maybe some stuff I saw, and just, talk some Ravens ball. But before that, if I sound nasally and it's annoying to you, I get it. It's annoying to me. I was under the weather when I did the preview for this game, and so this is the end of that sickness, basically. I don't feel sick anymore, but now my nose is just stuffed and there's nothing I can do about it. I don't feel sick, but my nose is stuffed. So it's more of an annoyance at this point. But I want to get this out there. I want to record this while I still can. This one will come out right away. And then later on today, I'm going to the casino to collect my winnings from my game picks from last week. And that episode, I think I'm going to record it tonight after the Monday Night Football games. But I will have it set to come out on Wednesday, I do believe. So it'll be like a midweek game picks. You can track your games, do all that. But, just put $5 on each game. And so far, I don't really want to go over it too much. But if both of my picks for Monday night tonight, so I have the Saints and the Broncos winning tonight. If both of those teams win, I'll make my money back and I'll go 10-6. So we'll start off the season right with a possible playoff team, 10-6. That's not too bad. But getting into the Ravens versus Miami game, I mean, when I previewed it, when I was thinking about it, I predicted like a 42-6 game. I didn't realize that was going to be the halftime score, and I thought we could drop the 50 burger. We could get more than that 42 points. But like I said in that preview episode, you never want to predict such a blowout. And I predicted a crazy blowout because that was such a crazy blowout, a 42-6 game. But we far and exceeded that to the point where it was just, I felt bad, Not so much because they are football players and they get paid a lot of money and they're some of the luckiest people in the world, just gifted genetics and they get all the hot chicks. So, I don't really feel bad. Make a lot of money to play a game. But, we dominated them so hard. They apparently there are reports that a lot of them talked to their agents that they wanted to leave the team. And bro, the reason y'all did terrible is your fault. It's not the team's fault. You're still a player. You still make money. You are a professional football player, and you let us just go up and down and destroy you. It feels like, I think everybody on the Dolphins lost their individual matchup for most of the game. And the Ravens were skilled enough that they could exploit whoever's losing. Like, I'm sure there's someone winning their coverage or someone winning their battle on the defensive line for the Dolphins. But I think Lamar and offensive coordinator Marty Morningwig, or not, oh my God. Did I just say that? Did I just say coordinator Marty Morningwig? Greg Roman, I think Greg Roman and Lamar Jackson both had the skill set and desire, or just Greg Roman has the experience and Lamar Jackson has the know-how and the skill to kind of exploit what the defense gives you. And I think the defense was giving us stuff all game long, and they were just taking it. That's why I ended up throwing for, let's see, how many yards did he end up throwing for? 324 yards. So, yeah, his stat line, 17 of 20. I know one of those incompletions was just a straight drop by Willie Snead. And then the other two, I think, were both to Marquise Brown on long passes. but he also got the 2 for touchdowns, so I'm counting that as an even score. I'd rather see that. I'd rather see the 2 touchdowns and two missed catches than not. He also had 5 TDs with 0 interceptions. I mean, talk about a stat line. Apparently, that equates to a perfect passer rating, which is cool, pretty cool. And I guess I was looking on Ravens Reddit, and someone posted that Lamar Jackson was the first guy to get a Dawson, which apparently is just some guy on Reddit created this new phrase for a stat or for a stat line, which is you throw more touchdowns than incompletions. And now there's a lot that goes into it. You have to throw at least 10 times, so that kind of gets rid of trick plays type stuff, like a wide receiver coming around and throwing a pass to the end zone and getting a touchdown. It gets rid of that. And then someone who also has to throw for 3 touchdowns, so it kind of discourages like a late game kind of comeback. And it doesn't happen that much throughout history, apparently. Let me go back, open it up and look at it. But before, I have this stat open because Lamar Jackson had a historic day. The offense as a whole had a historic day. NFL-wise, they broke the record for most points in a first half for a season opener, which is now set at 42, thanks to us. In Ravens history, they have the most yards in a single game at 600 and some odd. I can't remember exactly how much. Let's see how many they actually had. Get back to here. Come on, show me your stats. Show me your stats. Can I just go by team? Oh yeah, here, team. 643 yards of offense. Yeah, that is the only time. Yeah, throughout history, hell yeah, that's way better than anything we've ever done before. Because even if we started off hot, I remember when we played Tampa Bay and Joe Flacco got like 5 touchdowns in like the first quarter or something crazy like that. Then they just took their foot off the gas. But in this game, they just kind of consistently went down the field, methodically moved the ball, and then when they wanted to, just took a deep shot to Hollywood Brown. And it feels like they could have done that at any point, but they just, whenever they wanted to, just like, all right, let's throw it now. Let's throw the bomb now. Let's see how that goes. And much is made that it's the Dolphins. They're trash. They're garbage. Yeah, they are. But how bad are they? This is all right. So this is a Ravens team that's supposed to be a good team. I believe they're going to be a good team. I think a lot of Ravens fans think they're going to be a good team, and it's not just because of their drinking purple Kool-Aid. It's partly why, but I think a lot of people around the nation, like national media members, people who actually watched the games from last year and watched Lamar, they kind of do believe in the Ravens. But it's the people who are just making headlines, just trying to trigger people, trying to get clicks. They're the ones who don't believe in Lamar. But so the excuse is that the Dolphins, they're trash. Oh, you did it against the Dolphins. Wow, whoop-de-fucking-do. Do it against someone who's any good. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Is that like Austin Powers? Whoop-de-freaking-do. Yeah, and so there's going to be nothing but excuses because, of course, the first week we have the Dolphins. Second week we have the Cardinals. And then the third week, finally, we have the Chiefs. And we won't get credit until after that Chiefs game. If we win that Chiefs game, that's when we will finally get credit. At least some national shit. These guys are fucking good. I can't wait to see where they place us in the power rankings this week. But I am excited to see how far they move us up. If it's only 2 spots, I'm gonna fight someone. If there's like a grandma in the street, I will punch her in the face. No, I won't. Don't take me seriously. Just joking around, okay? Whoa, buddy, back off. And so finally, once we play the Chiefs, still, people might say, oh, well, the Chiefs' defense is garbage. It doesn't matter. As long as we continue to move the ball and we use our multitudes of where we can throw, we're gonna have a top 10 offense, maybe top 3. I mean, you got Kansas City Chiefs. the Cowboys look good, but they also played the Giants, which is, I'm doing the same exact thing. But, they put up 30-something points. That's great. That is what you're supposed to do. If you're the better team, you're supposed to put up, I'd say, 40 points. If the Ravens won and it was 40-10, I would make the same argument that, hey, well, that's what you're supposed to do. You're the better team. You're supposed to dominate this other team. But 59, that is a whole nother story. And they weren't just pushing up the score. They weren't bombing it each and every play. They were just following the game plan, giving what the defense gave them. They weren't throwing it crazy, crazy deep. They were just taking their shots. And at the end of the game, the Ravens, when they kneeled it down, they were on like the 2-yard line. They could have scored again. They could have ran it in because they got the ball with 7 minutes left. 7 minutes. And ran it all the way down the entire field with maybe 2 or 3 passes throughout the whole way. Robert Griffin III led that drive. I think he was in for 2 drives maybe. I think he was in for just that fourth quarter, and the Ravens only got 2 drives because they were able to hold on to the ball and move methodically. So you can see the ability with this Ravens offense is, with such a multitude of ways to attack a defense. There's no one guy. I remember hearing someone talk about this. It might have been Engraven, talking with someone who was talking about it in the comments or something. But we don't have the guy. We don't have, here's the guy that we have to get the ball to. We're not stuck in that, We're not slaves to a player. We can dink and dunk it, deep it, dodge, duck, dick, dive, and dodge. I don't know. We could throw it all over the place. We can run it all over the place. We just have a good scheme on offense like Greg Roman and Dave Culley and John Harbaugh, whoever is involved, has really put together this beautiful kind of game plan. And I saw a lot of different formations, a lot of different stuff where there is just so many different ways you can go. And it's just Lamar has to pick the right read, and he seemed to do that. Now, do I think Lamar can repeat this type of performance? I mean, I hope so, but you can't predict that, man. You're putting up historic NFL numbers. You are breaking records. You can't say it's going to happen again. But in all honesty, in week 2, we're playing the Cardinals, who I would argue have a worse defense than the Dolphins do. But I'll get more into that when I record my preview episode. I'll probably record that tomorrow, and I won't have it come out until Friday. So that way it comes out on Friday, so you're at work, because it is a podcast. And I like to listen to podcasts at work. Hopefully you do too. I don't listen to many podcasts on my days off. So like the weekends, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. It's usually only when I'm, doing busy work at work and just got to have something in my brain. So I love Ravens football, so hopefully that's what you guys do. I notice I get more views and more listens whenever I post during the week, which is, I got an uptick of 2, so it's not very well listened to, and I understand because I am kind of all over the place with my points. I remember I started a tangent a while ago of something else, and I'll get back to that probably at some point. But where I'm going with this is that, yeah, the Dolphins are a terrible team, and a good team is supposed to dominate a bad team. But the way we dominated this team, that's not supposed to happen, okay? The Dolphins, they don't have a bad defense. The strength of their team is the secondary, and Lamar went and passed for 324 yards. And honestly, I thought he could have had more. It just depends where he was on the field. The end zone honestly stopped his production. I know he got 5 touchdown passes, but yeah, the end zone got in the way of his stat line. So that just goes to show he was very, very efficient. So 17 for 20 for 324 yards. I can do the calculations maybe if I can pull up. Damn it, I don't have a separate calculator. I don't know if I can pull up the calculator on my phone while I'm recording this. All right, let's see if I can. Hopefully it doesn't stop. Can you still hear me? Yeah, it looks like it. It's blinking red. We got it. So 324 divided by 17. So 19.0588235 yards per attempt. Whoa. Almost 20 yards per throw, basically. Holy hell. And adjusted right here, it says 21.2, and then I'm looking at this. Wow. Pretty impressive. So super efficient. And I remember Greg Roman at the beginning of the season when he's talking about making this new offense before he even came up with everything. Before, when he was still trying to decide how he even wants to call the plays. You know, I want to call this, and I want to call this the dive, the spider 2, why banana, you know? But yeah, he said he didn't care about the stat line. He just cares about the win column, and the efficiency of what Lamar Jackson can do, like as it pertains to the passing stats. Because he likes to run the ball, but he likes to be efficient through the air. And you're talking efficiency, he completed 85% of his pass attempts. You know, everyone's struggling. Like, if you can just get 60 with that run ability, this can work in the NFL. But nah, motherfucker, why don't you just go out 85%, complete 85% of your passes. Don't even run it. Don't even let them know. Don't even show them, Lamar. Don't even show them how great you are. You know, he only ran it for, I think, 2 times. And both of those kind of like, they were a wash. I think one of them was a scramble that he kind of got caught from behind. And then the other one was a designed run that didn't really go much of anywhere. Because I think Justice Hill was like the lead blocker. He didn't know what to do. That is not his role. I mean, if you're going to have a running back be a lead blocker, get Gus Edwards or just get Pat Ricard. Don't try to fool anybody with that. If you need someone to block for Lamar, have someone block for Lamar. Don't use trickery when it comes to blocking for him. I think just make sure he's clean and he can make a cut. But I'm getting to eventually kind of with how Lamar Jackson actually did. I found this stat. See if I can legit find it. That was very, very intriguing. Okay, yeah, because it has to do with like next gen stats. So I'm just gonna read this excerpt. Is that even how you say that word? I'm just gonna read this excerpt. Jackson averaged 21.2 adjusted yards per attempt, the second most for a quarterback with 20 or more attempts in a game in NFL history, and the most since Johnny Unitas in 1967. His 99.4 total QBR was the best single game performance in more than 4 years. Pretty cool, right? Pretty impressive. Next paragraph. Now, of course, the next hurdle people will throw in Jackson way is the idea that he was taking advantage of a Dolphins team that appears to be actively self-destructing. I won't pretend that the Dolphins are going to be good, but there have been plenty of awful football teams and dismal defenses over the past 50 years, and no team has topped 21 adjusted yards per attempt against any of them. So basically what he's saying is that Lamar produced better against this team than any other trash team in the past 50 years. If anything, given that the Dolphins have one of the league's better cornerback duos in Xavier Howard and Minkah Fitzpatrick, you would figure their one competitive advantage over most teams might be in the secondary, which I kind of touched on a little bit. You know, they do have a pretty decent secondary, but I'll keep reading on because there's some interesting stuff in here once I get to it. To put Jackson's day in context, we can take a look at the NFL's next-gen stats, which build an expected completion percentage for each pass attempt based on the location and movement of each of the 22 players on the field at the time that the ball is thrown. So basically, it keeps track of everybody, the way everyone's running, and basically predicts how or what the likelihood of a completion actually being. That's what I'm guessing. If the Dolphins were just leaving receivers open for easy throws, we would see a high expected completion percentage for Jackson's passes. Instead, Next Gen Stats projected that Jackson would have completed 60.2% of his throws on Sunday, which ranks as the 6th lowest expected completion percentage for any quarterback in quarterback in week 1. What? Wednesday? How did I get Wednesday from week? Dyslexic much? In other words, Jackson actually faced a pretty difficult slate of throws across his 20 attempts. Jackson instead completed 85% of his pass attempts, good for the largest gap between expected and actual completion rate during the opening week of the season. So basically, seeing how open the wide receiver is, basically, they can say, hey, based on how open his wide receivers were, he is going to throw 60% of his passes. But instead, he ends up throwing 85%. So that difference is bigger than anybody else had in the league. So maybe another team, let's say Patrick Mahomes, if he passed for 85% of his targets, maybe that next gen stat for how many projected completion percentage might have been higher, might have been 70. His wide receivers were more open. Let's see. His completions were difficult in part because his average pass traveled nearly 12 yards in the air. 12 yards in the air. That's throwing it pretty deep usually. His 3 incompletions. Oh yeah, I kind of went over that. That's no need. But yeah. When Jackson let go of the pass, Next Gen Stats projects on that 83-yard bomb. So that was a 32% chance of completion, and Lamar Jackson threw it on a rope and got it to Marquise Brown. So basically what this is saying is that he was more accurate than he was supposed to be. So on an individual standpoint, he murdered this game. He should be arrested because he killed some dolphins. He raped them in the blowhole, gross, and then he murdered them and ate them, made some dolphin soup. Now, they're mammals, and that's kind of fucked up, but hey, what are you going to do? And more kind of like where I started this whole thing off with is that he got a Dawson. I don't know why they call it a Dawson. That's just what the guy came up with. But he threw for more touchdowns than incompletions, with more than 3 touchdowns and more than 3 completions, or more than 10 completions. So, like, just Lamar Jackson himself, not even mentioning any of the other players, he outdid himself. You outdid yourself, Mr. Lamar. Lamar Jackson, you have outdid yourself. And he did. I think this was a fuck you game, honestly. I think I might have mentioned that already, but I think, he may say in the interviews, I don't care what the haters say. He'll say that, but then, 2 seconds later in that interview, he's like, make them eat their words. Like, I'm going to make them eat their words, but no, I don't care what they say. Like, come on. You're human. It's okay to admit. You're honest with us at any other time, but, it's okay. It's okay to be honest with us. We know you like being honest. Because at the end of that game, they're asking about him throwing, and he had the great quote. You knew he had to throw the jab in there, and he just did it so sly, just like, whatever. They're pretty good for a running back. Damn straight, Lamar. Pretty good for a running back. That's right. Pretty damn good for a running back. Pretty damn good for a quarterback. To do something, get that Dawson, right? That Dawson stat that happened twice last year. Happened a couple times before that. Let's see. Let me pull that up because I want to see, because it's a least likely stat to hit than anything else. So let me pull it up here. Got it on my iPad. So throughout history, there have been 49 Dawsons. I guess this guy broke it down all the way back from 1950 to 2018. So in 2018, last year, Deshaun Watson did it against the Miami Dolphins, and Patrick Mahomes did it against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Respectively, both of them. So Deshaun Watson, he had 5 touchdowns and 4 incompletions, which I think Lamar, he got 5 touchdowns and 3 incompletions. So hey, looking pretty good. And so there's been a lot of different players to get it, throughout the years, one-offs here and there. But there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just 9 quarterbacks in history to do it multiple times. Peyton Manning has done it 3 times. Tom Brady has done it 3 times. Alex Smith has done it twice. Drew Brees has done it twice. Steve Young has done it twice. Lynn Dickey has done it twice. Craig Morton, done it twice. Len Dawson, maybe that's why they call it the Dawson, done it twice. And Norm Van Brocklin. I don't know, but a lot of these players at the top, the player who can repeat it, on average, a pretty damn good player. And none of these guys have the running ability that a Lamar Jackson has. Now, Steve Young, for his time, he did have a pretty good rushing ability. But right now, if he was in the NFL in his prime, he wouldn't be considered a mobile quarterback. He is not mobile enough to keep up with these fast defenses. And I don't know if I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I've had thoughts about this, about old school NFL versus new school NFL. If Lamar was playing back in the 80s, oh man, he'd be running over people left and right. Now they hit harder, they hit different, they could get away with more stuff. But if you're talking speed-wise, of course, there was still speedsters around. You had your Deion Sanders. You had, who was that guy on the Redskins? Can't think of his name, but one of the fastest guys on the football field to ever do it. So you had these elite sprinter-type guys. Now, that will always be a thing. There are always genetic freaks, and there always will be. But when I'm talking about speed on the defensive side of the ball, on the offensive side of the ball, there's not much of a disparity, whatever the fucking word is, not much of a difference. So you got defensive linemen now, 300 pounds, bigger than they were back then, and then running 4.8s, 4.9s, running, I don't know, running full speed. If they hit someone, that is equivalent of getting hit by a car. They do not play around, okay? And then back in the day, they just weren't that fast. There is a huge difference from a cornerback and a defensive lineman. Defensive linemen, they were big, just eating nothing but eggs and steak, and that's what they did. That's how they got around. Just get big, get buff, but who needs to be fast? Nowadays, they're all fast. And some other interesting stats that I found. I love Reddit because people are just posting all sorts of weird stats that just so happen to come true, especially with such a dominating performance. You try to find all the weird little nuanced stats that people can find. I like this one. Someone posted, "It's about time." Shout out to you. It's about time. Posted 8 hours ago as time of recording this. The Ravens are so good that they account for 36% of points scored in the Jets versus Bills game because you had the C.J. Mosley score and the John Brown touchdown. Now, obviously, John Brown, he was with the Cardinals beforehand, but it doesn't matter. He was with us last year. So that's pretty funny. It was 17-16. So 2 touchdowns in that game. I thought that was kind of funny. There was another one that I thought I saw at some points. Oh, yes. Of course. The obvious one. The Ravens and the Dolphins combined score was 69. Nice. Nice. Ooh, excuse you. You can hear the 6. Oh, and then here was another one. The Ravens scored 59 points yesterday. The rest of the AFC North combined for only 36 points. Believe that. So yeah, the Ravens would have beat the entire AFC North yesterday. That's the reason why they are in first place right now, 1-0. Everyone else is 0-1. Let's go. Now this is just a thumping, man. Getting away from the stats. How does this happen? Right? How does this happen? Because there was the 0-16 Lions. There was the 0-16 Browns. There was the 1-15 Browns that same year. And all 3 of those teams, I think, out of all of them, the most points scored on them was 43. So how does a team get put on? a 59-point game. This isn't college. These are pros. At some point, usually during these games, the momentum shifts, and eventually the team comes back, goes for a little run, but then the team who was dominating just continues to dominate at a certain point. But there's usually at least a small comeback at some point where the team that's dominating lets up a little bit, lets them back into it. Next thing you know, the team trying to make a comeback, they're getting all fired up. But that just didn't happen. They had that one touchdown scoring drive. All sorts of crazy. Anthony Averett fell in coverage. Not good. You don't want to see that, but I thought in general he played pretty well. Ryan Fitzpatrick, in all honesty, I thought he had a pretty good game. But how does this happen? How, the quarterback, he had a good game, right? Watching it, for what the defense was giving him, how much they were hitting him, and how dominant our offense was destroying them, like having to look at that scoreboard and then having to go out on the field and just get decked every single fucking play. Now, we only got like 3 sacks, I want to say. I don't have that in front of me. I can look that up. But let me see here. How many sacks? Hey, buddy, how many sacks you got there? How many sacks do you have there? Why are you not there? I'm looking at your stats. Rushing, Mark Ingram killing it. Why am I singing? Looking for these stats. Boop ba doop boo. Da doop boo. I sound like a mother. What? Who am I trying to do? I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. This is not working. Interceptions, defense, kicking, punting. Where's the fucking sacks? Why is there not a separate section for ball sacks? Sacks. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, here it is. Total. There we go. Holy hell. We got there. So 3 sacks total. Not that much. We were hitting them pretty good. And I'm looking at this. Tackles and assisted tackles. 25 individual tackles versus 6 assisted. I thought that'd be more assisted tackles. I thought we'd have way more. We're a very swarming defense. One thing about our defense, I'm kind of talking about how does this happen to a team? 59 points, right? These 0-16 teams, they've never gotten demolished by that much, point differential wise or total points wise. So how do we do that? And part of the reason I think is our defense. And I think throughout history, the reason we've had such a good defense, this might trigger you, but it might not be because of our players. It might not be because of our scheme. It might just be because of hitting, where the coach says, "Hey, we'll take the roughing the passer. It's okay. Even if it's on a 3rd down and it might continue a drive and it might suck, it's okay. We're cool with 2-3 a game of roughing the passer. Give the quarterback, give him a little extra. Just give him a little, give him, right there." So, and I think that it gets into your head. When you're talking about demoralizing someone, you're like stripping someone's soul, right? You are just ending their want to do, right? And so I think you continuously hit the quarterback, you continuously hit the wide receivers, you continuously hit everybody as hard as you can. Eventually they're going to give up, they're going to get disheartened, and especially when you have a performance on offense like you do today, our defense has time to shine. And I think we've always had a defense that's been like this. We've always had a defense that is this good. And I think finally, so far after 1 week, we have an offense that can compete at the same level, if not higher, than our defense, like respectively. Like number 1 defense and number 1 offense, And how do they complement each other? Because there's different ways to complement. You want to demoralize? You go ahead, take deep shots after deep shots like we did at the beginning of the game. Produce on those, get up high or get up on them early and play great defense, and there's nothing they can do. They get demoralized that way. Another way is the slow burn. You just run at them and keep running. And I've seen that ability in this Ravens team, and I'm loving what I'm seeing. And how does this happen? The Dolphins, they're rebuilding, but they have decent players all over the field. They've got a great secondary. I love Kenyon Drake and Kalen Ballage. I like Kenyon Drake a little bit more, but I like both of them. Fitzmagic, he's always fun to watch, and he had a pretty decent game, just throwing it up. At a certain point, you just have to throw it up. Is it the coaching? I don't really know, because if it's coaching, right, they would have scored more points if they had better coaching. But you're talking about a Ravens defense that put up 2 shutouts last year. That ain't easy. Okay, I believe they got 2 of them. That's the Titans and someone else. But a shutout, that is no small pickings. I don't know what our average points allowed was last year, but if a team got more than 10, everyone was pissed. I was kind of mad they got 10 this game. So it's not like they underproduced compared to what other teams have done to us on defense. It's just our offense was so complimentary. They took the ball, they took what the offense gave us, and instead of kicking field goals, they got touchdowns. And you know what? I think I just figured it out. That was the difference. They kicked touchdowns. They passed and ran for touchdowns instead of field goals, instead of settling for field goals. This is why Justin Tucker, throughout the past, I don't even know how long, since he's been on our team, has been one of the top kickers in fantasy football. He always has to go out there and kick a 50, kick a 60, kick a 40, kick a 30, because we just can't quite punch it in. For whatever reason, it might be coordinator, it might be just the offensive players, whatever it was, either Joe Flacco or Marty Morningwig or any of our other endless amount of offensive coordinators, they just couldn't punch it in. And I think Greg Roman and Lamar Jackson, they're a good combo, and I hope they stick around here. I think if they have as much success as I think they're capable of having, Super Bowl, I hope Greg Roman doesn't try to be a head coach. I hope he realizes that it's easier and more fun to continue to win with the Ravens as an offensive coordinator than it would be to have the reins to say, oh, this is my team, I want to build it my way. I'd rather see him just continue to build with us. Same with Dominic Martindale. I just hope they find the love of the game is more important than being your own boss, which even being an NFL or head coach, you're not your own boss. You have the owner, you got the president, you got the GM, you got all the fans that hate on you, all the stress involved with that. But when it comes to offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, not saying that there's not stress, it's just not as bad as a head coach. Head coach, they have to lead the men, lead the charge on all phases. But coordinator, they got to be very specifically weirdly minded. They're always kind of a little messed up and weird. So yeah, man, I don't know if I answered my own question of how is this able to happen, because this doesn't happen, right? And the excuse is whatever people are saying about this game, it has to do with Miami being trash. But no matter how trash a team, no one's putting up 59 on them. I want to see, I'm actually going to look this up. Like highest individual, I spelled that right, nice. Scoring games in the NFL. Hopefully they go by individual team. No. That's combined. Damn it. The Giants got 72. Cleveland Browns 58. But yeah, so highest scoring game in history. 113 total points. 72 to 41. So obviously both defenses are trash. 58 to 48. 54 to 51. 52-49. So anytime you get over a 50, it's always preceded or followed by a 40 number or a 30 number. I'm looking at all of these, and if they're in the 50s, they're followed by a 40. So it's a 50 versus 40. So the teams, they're just going back and forth, back and forth. There's no dominant 50 burgers. I don't know why they call them 50 burgers, but there's no dominant 50 burgers on here. Yeah, let me look. Overtime. There's a 63-35, but that's 35 points. And you think the Ravens, they could have bumped that score up to, let's see, they finished with 59, so they could have ended up with 66, like no questions asked. They were right on the 2-yard line. They just had to run it. So yeah, all these games, they're somewhat close. I think the biggest disparity here, I'm seeing a 62 versus 28, and that was New York Jets versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1985. A very different football game, very different type of offense and defensive schemes that are popular at the times. So how does this happen? Okay? Because bad teams, at least in situations like this, they put up points. These games seem close. You put up a lot of points on a shit defense, right? And usually, if you have the ability to score that many points, that means your team is insufficient in other areas. I think I'm finally going to answer it because I think I finally figured it out. I posed a question that I didn't know the answer to, okay? You caught me. You got me. Whatever. Don't find me. I'm fine being fined. You're so fine. Anyways, so if you have an offense that has the ability, nay, the skill, to put up a 50 burger, to put up over 50 points, that means you have invested a lot of money, a lot of draft capital, a lot of coaching staff into the offense. So conversely, that means most likely that your defense is not up to par. It's lacking. And you figured the way you want to build your team is just invest in the offense, get the exciting players. You want to have the fans excited. You want to be an exciting team. Greatest show on turf. This is the best scoring team. That's the way the NFL kind of wants to go. So people, they invest. But then, they think they can get by with different defensive players. And they can't. You need a good defensive team. So I just think our team, the Ravens, throughout franchise history, have been a defensive-oriented team, defensive-minded team. And they've been that way since 98, I want to say. Because they had Ray Lewis, and then eventually they realized how good he was, so they were like, all right, let's just build around this guy and build a great defense. And thus it started the Ravens' tradition on defense. And so we've always had a good defense. We got a good defense this year. And I think this past season and the season before, these past 2 seasons, we've gotten a lot of very good young offensive talent. And I think, that gives us a great offense and a great defense, thus making this kind of blowout possible. So we have to be a good team to do this. No bad team is going to keep a team to 10 points and score 59. Okay? Without the starters, they weren't even playing the whole time. Yes, the Dolphins, they might be tanking. But you know how much money these players are making? It's their job. They go out there, their resume is out on the field. And they're getting whooped. And not on an individual standpoint. It was just a team bludgeoning, just demolishment. I don't know. This is my review of the game. Fucked them up. All right? Dolphins, you ain't shit. You ain't never going to be shit. Ravens win. Okay? That's basically what this whole podcast episode is about. But, I'm trying to, break it down. I had thoughts about this game. And then, when you start recording the podcast, you start talking, you start realizing something else makes something in your brain pop off. You're like, oh, well, that, and then that, and then that. Nice. And so I'm just super excited. The Ravens obviously just killed it. There's nothing bad you can say about this game. I guess Lamar only had 2 runs. Is that a bad thing? It's like I was listening to Coach Evans, Sip to Tally Films, on YouTube. Check him out. He was doing a live stream, and he does these call-ins, so I called in, and we were talking ball, man, and we were talking about how, when you go into an interview and they say, what are your greatest weaknesses? And you say, oh, I work too hard and I'm a little bit too passionate, it's a positive, right? That's the whole thing. You make your negative a positive. Like, oh, what do you know? Wow, this guy's negative is a positive. We got to hire this guy, Jim. And so that's what Lamar, he ran 3 times, but, because of that, he got 5 touchdowns. We didn't need him to run. So it is a positive, I guess. And I guess maybe even another negative with that is, will he be ready to run? Like a lot of running backs. Ooh, I said it. The triggering word amongst Ravens fans. You use Lamar Jackson and running back in the same sentence. Not talking about his running backs. How dare you? No, it's okay. Listen. Because with the running back, they like to get into the flow of the game. They got to run a lot, that you don't want to go out there cold as a runner. You want to feel how the defense is going. And I think that's what makes Lamar very good. He really does get the feel of the game, and he ends up just, carving through defenses like a painting. I don't know. I'm like doing weird motions with my hands because I'm trying to describe this beautiful artistic way that he just goes about running. And I'm just like making these weird motions with my hands like, ooh. Like I'm playing a harp, but in air. Like there's nothing there. I look ridiculous. I hope someone outside my apartment saw that. Even though no one did. No one's here. It's a Monday, and everyone's working. But not me, baby. Or maybe I am. I'm working right now. Doing the pod, baby. But this ain't work. This is hype. This is hype season, especially after the first game of the year. But listen, my man's Lamar. He's going to be cold when he starts to run, right? He didn't run at all. He's too one-dimensional with his arm. What happens when the pass rush comes, okay? Is he going to be able to get out of there? Is he going to be able to run for a touchdown or run for a first down? Does he have that ability? And yes, he does, god damn it. Because I'm nitpicking here. Like, that's a negative to me? Are you kidding me? The guy was so successful with his arm after all of this whole offseason that he didn't have the ability to do it with his arm. He's nothing but a glorified running back. He's a wide receiver in the draft. Goddamn, we got a 3-1 here with this player. We got Hollywood Brown, we got Justice Hill, and Lamar Jackson. That's just a good combo of running backs and receivers, I guess. But listen, for the guy who couldn't pass, he goes out there and says, fuck you. Okay? Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. All right, so how many touchdowns did he get? He had 5 touchdowns, right? That's fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and fuck you. Right? I don't know why I just got like really energetic and really hyped, but sometimes that happens. I didn't pause it. It just out of nowhere. It just clicked, It just clicked. I think they call that a flow state because it's done now. The flow state's gone. Once you start thinking about it, that's when it's gone. When you're able to just spew consciousness out. I don't know if that makes sense or it sounds too woo-woo. I guess my hair is long. I am a hippie, so. But, yeah, Lamar Jackson, once he incorporates that running ability, hopefully, he doesn't even have to use it. Now, I would like to see him do that. Because I think without that running ability, I think that hampers his ability, I guess, or his availability at the MVP trophy. I think he only gets it if he ends up rushing for over 1,000 yards or breaking Michael Vick's record. I don't think he can do it just passing. Because when it comes to the MVP or just passing, getting the MVP, I think Mahomes is going to have better numbers. He just is. He already does this first week, even though they didn't put up nearly as much points. We're just a much more balanced team. So Lamar isn't going to get all of the, yards through the air like a Mahomes will. They just run that offense through Mahomes' arm. And we run it through our running game, through Lamar's arm, through his legs. And so for him to get the MVP, he's going to have to produce with his legs. And I think if the Ravens just continue to dominate like this, which I don't really think you can expect them to do that, he's going to he's going to have a hard time getting that MVP recognition. He might get recognition, but actually getting the award. And I've been talking about Lamar getting the MVP. I did a whole podcast about Lamar getting the MVP before the season started. And you can go back and listen to, honestly, the first episode where I think I mentioned Lamar being an MVP. I talked about him possibly being a Hall of Famer, which is a little bit ludicrous. But, I honestly just am a firm believer in Lamar Jackson, and especially after this game, after seeing that he can actually do it, actually throw it. Because we talked about the improvements that we want to see and how I think he has the ability to do it. But those are thoughts. I think he has the ability to do it. Now I've seen him improve to past, present, future, or past to present. But it's like, can he do it now? When we were seeing him in the preseason, it's all right. I've seen him improve, and he looks better this year. So I knew that he would improve. But then to go out there and do this and rape these Dolphins right in the blowhole. SeaWorld, here I come. Emphasis on the word come. Oh, gross, dude. Free Willy. Listen, I don't think we're going to see another performance like this because I think the Ravens are going to lean more on the run game, and I think Lamar is going to want to lean on his legs more in this game because I think that's just what he's more comfortable with. I think more teams are going to try to get pressure on him, so he's not going to have the ability to just stand there and throw the ball around. And he wasn't able to do that all the time last year. If he had an open pocket, his mechanics were off, he would be off target. And why? I'm not a huge mechanics guy when it comes to the quarterback position, so I don't really know. But when it came to this game and this offense and then going forward, looking at it, it's turning out to be a long podcast. I'm not really talking about the game anymore. I'm just talking about, the Ravens in general here. But, I just love Ravens football, baby. I'm going to keep just talking Ravens until my little heart desires not to. Now I'm thinking, last year, I think his job as the quarterback, it seemed like it was, all right, I see the receiver, I'm going to try to throw to him, all right? This receiver's going up the field, I'm going to try to hit him, all right? So it's Lamar's job to get to the receiver. The receiver's just running this route, and it's Lamar's job to get it to them. And I think this year, my guess, the difference is, maybe someone else out there, if you have more knowledge into the game, do some more breakdowns. Once the coach's film comes out on Game Pass, maybe I'll take a look at it. But it seems like this year, the way the offense is set up, the way the passing game is set up, it seems like Lamar's job is to throw it to a spot, right? And it's the receiver's job to get there, and it's Lamar's job to get the ball there. So it's more of a cohesive effort. It's more of a them both attacking this ball at the same time. Your job is to cut right here, make your man miss. If you don't, I probably won't throw it to you. But I'm throwing it right here. So you better be there when you're there. And so that is a timing type of game. And I think that's better for Lamar. He's able to get his mechanics down. I think easier. He's not second guessing himself because I don't think he's much of a, natural thrower like that. Being able to just lead someone without having done it before. I imagine you put Mahomes running to the right, a receiver he's never passed to, running a consistent speed. I bet he's going to hit him. Now, I think Lamar, I don't think he innately has that ability. Now, I think we've seen it, because last year we even saw some pitch and catches, right? So I think he has the ability to do that, but I don't think he's as money as a Patrick Mahomes, which no one really is, just that natural gift to know how to lead someone perfectly each time. He's got to have that timing down. So I think this timing kind of offense passing game is going to be huge for Lamar. Now, obviously, they kind of have their own negative effects with timing passing games. What happens once you disrupt the timing? Then everything's off, and we won't have as good of an offensive day. But you hope your receivers, you hope your O-line can all hold up, and that's how you have cohesion on offense. You get better. You get good. So, yeah, man, just back to the Dolphins. Just an all-out dominating force. Some players I want to talk about. Guess what? I didn't even talk about anybody but Lamar. I realized, Marlon Humphrey, I thought he played excellent. Had a pass breakup with the help of Tony Jefferson. I thought there was one pass caught on him was like a moss. It was him and Anthony Averett covering, I think, Parker. And Parker just went up there and snagged it, dog. There's nothing you could do about that. At that point, you just got to say, Well played, sir. Well played. There's nothing you can do. He high pointed that, and Marlon Humphrey was right there with his hands. So was Anthony Averett. Just a damn close, damn good ball. Like I said, I I think Fitzmagic, he played pretty well. And you know how I feel about the word magic in quarterbacks. So, very impressive. Jimmy Smith got injured. Now this is pretty big because he might be out for a couple of weeks now. And, do we want to put him on IR, have him come back at week 10, or is this not going to be as long of a thing? It will only be like 3 weeks. Apparently, it's like a stage 2 knee sprain. I don't know what the fuck that means. I guess, or grade 2. That's what I saw, grade 2. So I guess it's learning multiplication at this point. He did addition, subtraction at grade 1. So now he's on to if I can say it, multiplication. Yeah. So, either way, that's a huge letdown because we already have Tavon Young gone, and I'm sure I'll talk about this more maybe when I go in depth with the Cardinals because, they like to run the spread system, so they're going to spread us out, so we're going to need a lot of corners. So I think I'll maybe try and dissect that a little bit more when I go over our next game. But in terms of this game, I saw Matthew Judon. He got a sack. He was pressuring the quarterback all day. Same with Tyus Bowser and Tim Williams. Just causing havoc in the backfield. Making the O-line of the Dolphins hold them. There were quite a few holding penalties where they didn't show the replay, but it's like, that was the pass rushers. Because watching the play live, you could see our guys were getting there. They're getting pretty close. So, someone had to at least hold them at some point. But yeah, they played excellent. Matthew Judon, there was that swing pass to Kalen Ballage where Matthew Judon ended that man's life, took his soul, and made some mac and cheese out of it and said, delicious. What does that even mean? He made mac and cheese out of his soul? I don't know. I think my brain, the way it thought was, mac and cheese, it's like soul food, so whatever. Don't worry about me. I'm fine, I swear. All right, this is getting out of hand. I should end this soon. So yeah, Matt Judon, I thought had a great game. Anthony Levine, he had the fake punt. And I remember on that drive, I was thinking, you guys better fucking go for it. Because this is, you get this drive going, you score on this drive, it is game over. It is nail in the coffin. You're done. You played yourself. Go home, Dolphins. Even though we're at your house, seemed like a Ravens game. But that was the point that I thought, they had to go for it. They had to get a touchdown this drive to really and surely just end their suffering. I don't know, the beginning of their suffering. I don't really know. That's when you broke the camel's back and the water leaked out. So I love seeing that because when the punt team came on, I was like, God damn it, John Harbaugh, stay on their throats, stay on them. And then the fake punt worked, and it worked in droves and went 60 yards down the field. I was like, yes! I sounded like Oprah giving away something. You get a brand new touchdown! I was like, yes, baby, yes, yes. Dude, that's awesome, yes. You just got shot in the jugular, man. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other individual performances that I want to at least, look at that. Mark Ingram, he also did well. Let's see, 107 yards. So first game with the Ravens, went over 100. That first play of the game, went out, got 50 yards straight off the bat. First play of the game. Awesome, exciting, really set the tempo because after that, then they bring everyone up and then it was just deep ball city. What's good, Hollywood? Throwing just balls all the way to the Hollywood Hills and see who catches it. What do you know? It's Hollywood catching it. Oh, yeah, baby. And so we ran for a total of 265 yards. Holy shit, we did? Wow. And it wasn't like we had the one big chunk play. We only had the one 50-yard run. Everything else was just slowly, methodically, just moving down the field. Let's see. Because total, the Ravens had 46 attempts. Divided by 265. No, that's how you get percentage of something. No. Am I even doing that right? Okay, so 265 divided by 46. So as a team, we averaged 5.7608697 yards per attempt. So 5.8, we'll call it. We average 5.8 yards per carry. That is awesome. That is how you truly demoralize a team, right? You know, we hit them with a long bomb, and then you just run it up their face until they're like, fine, we'll try and stop this. Then you hit them again with another long bomb. You know, it's that play action pass. It's that good shit right there. That is just good shit. That's all I gotta say, man. Because that, you know, a running game is how you actually demoralize the team. You know, really get in their heads and say, we're gonna punish you. And so passing wise, you know, we passed for total, including Lamar and RG3, for 379 yards on 23 attempts, which equates to 16.4782609. So 16.5 yards per attempt. Awesome. Those are great numbers. That is being efficient, okay? You know, that is what Greg Roman talked about, getting the easy throws and being very efficient with your offense. And that's what he's doing. After this first game, obviously, this is one of the most dominating games, I think, in NFL history. So, of course, it's going to be, you know, that's the way you want to start. That's the way you want to beat. But, you know, they look good. You can really only go down from here. But, you know, I'll get to that when it comes to the next game. But all in all, just a killer game. Shout out RG3, I guess he had another daughter, so he goes from the hospital with the baby to, you know, throwing a touchdown pass to Mark Andrews. So that's very cool, very happy for him. I was happy to see him get in the game because he wasn't able to get any time in the preseason. And because, like I said before, he wants to be a starter. At some point in this league, he is going to want to be a starter. And so what he has to do is he's got to show out in preseason. He's got to show teams what he can do. And hopefully the Ravens just continue to kind of do this type of domination to another team, to the point where RG3, he ends up with a lot of good numbers, you know, proving that he can still kind of do it. So, let me see. I don't know if there's any other player that I want to highlight. You know, I want to talk about every single player, but I ended up talking about the team a lot. Talking about what it means to dominate. Ended up talking just a lot about everything with this game and a lot of stuff. That's specific. Now it's been an hour and 2 minutes. I'm just trying to go over, because I feel like there's something I'm definitely missing on. A shout out Eric DeCosta. You know, finding the right player at the right DeCosta. Boom. But you got that one. That's another good one. You can go ahead. You can keep that one, people. You can use that one. So I've got, you know, right player, right DeCosta. I've come up with that one. I've come up with the Jackson 5. I don't know if I've talked about the Jackson 5 on the podcast, actually. There's a lot of Ravens YouTubers, and I'm always in the comments section, and I'm always talking and predicting and doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and it doesn't always make its way to the podcast. And I think the Jackson 5 game might not have made it. Actually, it might have made it last episode, now I'm thinking about it. But the Jackson 5 game, that's mine. You know, A, B, C. Easiest throw in 1, 2, 3. Lamar Jackson. That's how easy touchdowns can be. Boo! Was Janet Jackson in the Jackson 5? I still haven't found that out. You know, if you listen to my Pick'ems episode, me and my buddy Sauce, we talk about a lot of crazy stuff. So before he takes my language jokes, the one about Canada and Mexican accent, which I probably shouldn't have said that, because hopefully he doesn't listen and he doesn't get upset and thinks he came up with it. But either way, I got another language one for you that I found out. Did you know that if you record your voice, you know, speak English, you know, speak regular old English, now then go back and play it in reverse? You know it sounds Russian? Did you know? Straight up. If you speak English in reverse, it sounds Russian. You know, I think that's why there is the whole, you know, the Red Scare, you know, the Red Scare, the R-E, putting the R-E in reverse. I don't know. There's something there. But we are straight up opposites, because their language sounds like English in reverse. They're just opposite people. They are the darkest timeline. Fucking A, Russia. We are not darkest timeline. Is that Russian enough? Anyways, yeah, so like English in reverse, it sounds like yes, nope, yes, nope, nope. That's what English in reverse sounds like. It sounded pretty Russian, didn't it? Okay, you go ahead, experiment with that. Get back to me and tell me, hey, you're fucking right, bro. I don't even remember how I found the one. I think I was at work and someone played something in reverse when I was listening to like something. And I'm always doing like Russian accents and stuff. At least at the time I was, back in the day. Yeah, good times. But yeah, I was like, that's straight up Russian, bro. That is Russian. Quit rushing me. All right. So I guess that's going to do it. Might as well end on a high note like that. Like, how else are you going to go out? That was beautiful, baby. I only paused it, 3 times for some water and a sneeze and a blow in my nose. Not too shabby. Got through a whole hour just speaking my mind on the Ravens stuff. So if you like this shit or you don't like this shit, like it, comment, subscribe to it if you're on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, leave me a 5-star review because I am a podcast and I am on most podcasting platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, all the big ones. So if you're on YouTube and you want to listen, you want to be able to lock your phone, put it in your pocket, listen to some great Ravens content, then please just look up Craven Some Raven on your favorite podcasting app. You will be able to find me, subscribe, and then you'll be able to listen to all this beautiful, beautiful content for you beautiful, beautiful people. So with that being said, thanks again for listening all the way through. You're a champ. It's an hour and 6 minutes. God damn, son. So thank you for listening, and I will leave you with a go. Ravens!